Necessity is the mother of invention, and in times of need, how an organization or an industry reacts is a good indicator of its ability to innovate and to think outside the box. The aerospace industry, like many others, is going through that right now. And instead of being part of the supply chain, providing their parts or actually building engines and airframes, it's responded to the coronavirus need, COVID-19, and as it rips around the world, manufacturers large and small have responded to play their part. Well, we're looking today at how that's happened in the UK. And I'm joined now by Paul Everett, the Chief Executive of ADS, the UK's industry body. Paul, welcome to the programme.
Yeah, despite what are quite challenging circumstances, the industry has stepped up to provide whatever help and support it can to the national efforts to combat COVID-19. We have a large number of companies who are directly involved in the ventilator challenge, from leading lights like Meggitt, GKN, Airbus, but also a lot of smaller businesses who are supplying some of the specialist parts to the ventilator or ventilators, and who've responded really remarkably, both swiftly and I think kind of courageously to support what they view as a real national effort.
I was interested to see as well that we've talked about this a number of times about the automotive industry, and we've seen some of the motor racing teams coming into work closely with the aerospace industry on some of that high engineering area as well, haven't we?
We have, and I think that's a lot of, I think the common theme that runs through both the sort of motor industry, the motorsport industry and aerospace. One is, very high precision, but also an ability to move quite quickly. So to take ideas, take drawings, take challenges, and then kind of dedicate the engineering know-how to overcoming them in relatively short order. And I think some of that is around sort of rapid prototyping type skills that they have been able to bring to some of the challenges that we've seen.
And I think too, we've got the small companies. We're going to be hearing in a moment from a couple of companies out there in the supply chain that have also stepped up. So it's not just the big companies, is it? It really is aerospace as a whole.
And I think that's one of the big strengths actually in UK aerospace is that, yes, you need the larger players to bring some of the both financial and organizational capability to some of these sort of projects. But it is the specialist skills and precision engineering that sits within quite a highly specialized UK supply chain that is what keeps UK aerospace at the forefront of the global industry, but on this occasion was able to respond again to kind of challenges that are not normal, and particularly not in the circumstances that many people were having to work in.
So going forward, how secure do you think the industry is as we go through COVID-19? I know that as an industry, we're regularly appealing to government for support, and I think you've been doing that in cooperation with some other organisations right now. Can you just tell us about that?
Yeah, I mean, clearly, I think this is a crisis the like of which we've never seen before. I think, back in January and February, we were looking at this and going, well, we've had some experience around this type of thing before, went through 9/11 and SARS and a number of other things, financial crash. But actually now what we're seeing is both the scale and the speed of the impact. So, we're now in a situation where, there are relatively few aircraft flying outside of freight aircraft. 98% of passenger aircraft are on the ground, and that has two real big impacts. The airlines being in distress is a major problem for the aerospace industry. So what we are doing with both our airline and airport colleagues is really sending a clear message to government. One is we need to extend some of the excellent schemes that have been put in place. So the job retention scheme that government has been running. Also to look at maybe business rate reliefs, which provide immediate cash flow benefit for many companies. but then perhaps most importantly, working together to plan how we come out of this lockdown period. Because fundamentally, we need to get planes back in the skies. We need to get passengers comfortable that they are going to be both safe and healthy to fly.
Well, thank you, Paul. Well, let's meet one of those specialist companies now. Baxter Woodhouse and Taylor, BWT, have been around for some 185 years, firstly in the clothing industry, more recently making pilot uniforms and even heated flying suits. But today, as part of the senior aerospace company, the company designs and makes low-pressure ducting for regional and business aircraft, and they go to places like Japan and Russia, North America, to Brazil. Well, we've got Darren Butterworth with us, the CEO of the 500 employee strong company. So Darren, how has the coronavirus hurt BWT?
We are impacted the same as all aviation businesses are at the moment. So certainly in the past few weeks, we have had to reduce our headcount using the government's furlough scheme. And we're at approximately half the number of employees at the moment working on site.
So at the point the virus is beginning to impact, you're having to furlough staff, manufacturing for the major airframers is beginning to slow down, and at the same time, the country is in crisis with this coronavirus, needing more medical equipment. So instead of manufacturing air ducts, you go into medical equipment. How did that happen? Did you make the decision, or did the government come banging on your door?
I think the first contribution that we made to the sort of medical response was we do sell a very small amount of lightweight flexible ducting into the medical industry. And we had some orders that were urgently required for ventilators. So we managed to expedite those in 72 hours. And then we looked at what else was required. Fortunately, in the past 2 years, we had invested in some new technology and the additive manufacturing machines. We invested in a couple of Stratasys FDM machines, and the additive manufacturing community globally was looking at what they could do. And my team came across a couple of designs that had become available on open source, and they originated from Sweden. A company, an individual in Sweden who designed a very simple headset and visor. So my team started trialing those, started printing them, and we also worked with some of the distributors in the Stratasys network. And they had got some contacts with Birmingham University hospitals, and the design wasn't quite right for medical use in the NHS. But with the help of a consultant called Stefan Edmondson in the Birmingham hospital, he made some adaptations to make it suitable for NHS use. And today we've distributed about 2,000 units. And they're just completely free of charge to hospitals, GP surgeries, NHS care homes, those sort of establishments.
So are you dealing with that distribution directly yourselves? I mean, how do you know which care homes need things? Because that seems to be one of the big problems.
Yes, very good question. So we contacted, using social media, local GP surgeries, and interestingly, you only had to contact a few and deliver a few units, and suddenly word spreads very quickly. Before you know it, we're inundated with emails asking for more. So that's how we've managed to distribute the 2,000. Over the weekend, we distributed 300 to the local hospital, just on a shout out from social media that they'd run out. But now what we've realized is that the demand far outweighs the supply, and that additive manufacturing is a great technology for prototyping, but it's never going to meet the volumes required. So we worked with the supply chain, who'd been involved in the design element with Birmingham University, and a few other companies who'd come into that. And we purchased about 2 weeks ago an injection molding tool. That goes into production this morning, and we will have volumes of 50,000 a week.
Darren, we've talked about 3D printing quite a bit on the programme, and we've seen companies like Stratasys in action. And I guess we're very fortunate that 3D printing and additive technologies has got to where it has right now. But digitalisation and 3D is not really being adopted across the aerospace industry with the speed that perhaps we thought it might do 18 months ago. Is this crisis going to make a difference for the take-up? And do you think the industry is going to look very different when we come out of this crisis?
Possibly. I think there's still, additive manufacturing is still at the start of its journey in aerospace. There's a lot of approvals and a lot of controls that are needed around the process. We have a project this year that is going to get several hundred parts on an aircraft. And that's really our launch platform this year. So I think we're at the start. I'm not sure this crisis is going to change the speed or the end journey for additive manufacturing in aerospace. I think that's going to happen naturally. It's going to find its own journey.
That was Darren Butterworth, the CEO of Senior Aerospace BWT. Well, companies have been using their imagination, finding work for their employees as orders were being frozen. Sabiti Wayne, which designs and manufactures aircraft interiors and upholstery systems with a range of laminated seat covers and foam cushions for airlines from their factories in Buckinghamshire, Dubai, and the United States. Well, they've done just that. Let's hear from Payman Sabiti, the CEO of Sabiti Wayne.
Probably everyone in the industry is kind of in the same boat. Most of our programs have been delayed. Thankfully, no cancellations, but programs have been put back by October, even November, December, and going into next year. So we have a factory full of staff. We offered them the option of not coming into work and getting full pay. We didn't want them to make a decision based on their financial situation. So we wanted to have them have peace of mind. Quite surprisingly, 90% decided to come to work, which was quite a nice surprise for us. So we thought we have to find them extra work. We have to look. And of course, everybody knows what the country is in, the situation we're all in. My niece, Alexandra Wayne, she contacted our local MP, Steve Baker, and said, my parents, my uncle, they have this company, they have production. And he jumped at it. He said, yes, please, yes, I'll put you in touch with the NHS. I know they're desperate. And we had a call from somebody who said, we are very short of scrubs. And the reason being is most of the doctors and nurses who had retired have come back to work and they want to help. They didn't have scrubs. So they had one each. So every evening, having worked 15, 16 hours during the day, they were having to go home, wash the scrubs, dry them, iron them, and get them ready for the next day. And we said, yeah, that's something we can definitely do. They gave us some samples. We managed to procure fabric of the quality that they use, which was actually quite a task because many other people are trying to help too. And there's a shortage. We have an initial order for about 4,000 scrubs.
Well, Payman, when you look at your staff and how fantastic that you're getting a 90% take-up wanting to come into work to do this. But there are issues, of course, like social distancing within your facility. But otherwise, how different is it? You know, you're usually making seat coverings for airlines like British Airways and Emirates, and suddenly you're having to change to be able to make scrubs. How different is the skilling that your machinists are going to need?
Well, we're quite fortunate. The team we have mostly come from Eastern Europe, the sewing machinists. And they actually came from industries where they were making garments. And we trained them to make seat covers. And the difference is seat covers have to fit very tight. They have to fit like a glove. Garments are not. Garments are loose. So if anything, it's kind of downskilling a little bit and quite easy for them to adapt. In fact, they told us some things that we didn't know, about making clothes. So they said, actually, it's easier to do it this way. We are used to making it this way. And we learned from them. So it's worked out quite well.
Thank you. That was Payman Sabiti from Sabiti Wayne. But it's great to see that the aerospace industry is really stepping up to the plate to do this. And if you want to know more about what the industry is doing and how it's responding around the world, then do go to our website, wearefin.com. And thank you for watching.